everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Alana and today we're going to be talking about Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. Let's just pull this out straight away. This is a young adult science fiction novel. It is part of a series, I want to say. I know that the second one is currently out in stores, and in this book we follow a young girl called Spencer who has been labelled the daughter of a coward. So having grown up with this sort of shadow over her life, she's a very spiky sort of character. She has a lot of like one-liners that she knows are over the top, like I want to drink the blood of your enemies and all that sort of thing, but this is due to the events surrounding her father and what happened with him. Even though her father has this coward label, Spencer does want to follow in his footsteps and become a pilot. She doesn't entirely believe that he fled from this massive battle back in the day, and she wants to get up into the sky herself because that's what he always told her. He told her to go out and claim the stars. I should note that this book isn't set on Earth, it's set on another planet which I can't for the life of me remember the name of, but basically there's this planet and the humans are stuck underground. They've only got one base that is slightly above ground, and you've got this alien force called the Krell who is always trying to attack and invade them. As the story goes on, all these things are fleshed out a little bit more. There's a really good mystery element in this, and just damn, this book was amazing. I will just quickly point out too, before I get too much further into the video, that this video in itself will be spoiler free. I want to try and get as many people to read this book as possible. You've probably already heard about it. It was in a fair few sub boxes back when it came out, but if I keep this spoiler free, more of you can watch it and I can encourage more of you to pick up this book. This is also the first Brandon Sanderson novel that I have ever picked up. I know he is a very established author. He has written the Mistborn trilogy, which I think he is most famous for, along with a whole bunch of other books. He has written some stuff, but as of yet I hadn't read anything by him, but then I got this for Christmas because it was on my wish list and it just seemed like the perfect time to pick up something from him. And damn, are all his novels this good? Like, have I just been missing out this whole time that I claim to love sci-fi and fantasy, but I've never picked up something from him? I need everything by him now. Now, I did state just before that this is a YA, so a young adult sci-fi novel, and you may have noticed recently that I haven't really been enjoying the YA genre. I used to really love it, but I think as I get older, I'm moving a little bit away from it. But let me just say, if you're a bit concerned about that element, don't be, because even though at the start of this Spencer does sound a little bit young and a little bit angsty, she grows so much as a character and the storytelling in itself never sounds naive or juvenile. It's just really well constructed basically, and if you're thrown off by the YA sort of genre classification, don't be. It's going to be amazing. And I think that leads into my next point, and that is that this book had consequences. So yes, it has a young adult protagonist, but people die in this and it hurts and there's high stakes, and Brandon Sanderson just does a really good job of making you care for these characters so damn much. Like, I was worried reading this. I was a little bit stressed for a lot of the time, but that's what I love about books that actually have the payoff and have consequences. Like, it makes you actually scared for your characters and feel for your characters and connect with them on a whole nother level because you have an author that doesn't mind killing off a few. I think that's why certain books like, let's just pull out I Court of Wings and Ruin, events at the end of this one, not a lasting consequence. Whereas with this, you're like, fuck. Let's talk about some of my favorite characters in the book. And can I just say that most of them were my favorite characters. This doesn't usually happen when I'm reading a novel. I feel like I always have like one or two that I really connect with, but in this book, oh man, so many favorite characters. Let's start with Spencer. Her character development is some of the best character development that I have read. It reminds me a lot of Robin Hobb's writing style with Fitz and the trials and tribulations that he goes through. You see him as a really young character growing up, and it's the same with Spencer in Skyward. She starts off with a certain mindset, and then as events progress and as she finds out more things and mysteries begin to unfold, she begins to question certain aspects of the world and of life, and that makes us as the audience in turn also curious and also wondering. She becomes very self-aware, and there's really some hilarious humor throughout, which is good because it lightens up for some of the darker times in the book. Spencer, I think, has now just become one of my favorite characters. Then we have Cobb, who is an old family friend slash flight instructor. He gave me real like Haymitch vibes from the Hunger Games. That sort of rugged, I don't want to get close to anyone type vibe, because he's sort of sent so many people off to basically get annihilated, so he doesn't want to get close to anyone. And then of course you have Spencer, who interacts with him, and slowly he starts to thaw, but not entirely, and it's just, I loved him so much. I've really been liking that character lately in books too. Sweet, sweet Cobb. Like, he was just, he had to put up with these juvenile pilots that were giving him so much sass, trying to teach him how to fly, trying to teach him not to die basically, up in the battles with the Krell and everything, and I just loved him so much. You also have Mbot, who is basically the comedic relief for this story. Mbot reminds me of the companions that J. Kristoff writes in his own novels. So like Mr. Kindly from Nevernight, and also Cricket from Lifelike. He's that sarcastic companion that is there to lighten the story up, but also holds a place in the story enough that it's relevant for him to be in it as well. And then of course you have the majority of the characters in the academy, and I just enjoyed their dynamic together as a group so much. Each of them had their own characteristics. They were very clearly their own people. Changing pace a little bit, as I mentioned earlier, there is this theme of cowards. Spencer isn't a well-liked character at the start by other people because they view her for her father's crimes basically, and it does a lot to her as a person. And the theme of the coward doesn't just stop there. It really opens up into further world building, and it also comments on society as a whole and how we are sort of sometimes made to think like a hive mind and not question things and just go with what we've been conditioned and told throughout our lives. And I just loved how that opened up the story even more. There's a certain scene that Spencer shares with another character where they make a pact to not be cowards, and it made me very emotional reading that. Watching Spencer react to this coward label throughout the novel was also one of my favorite aspects of this book. She starts off being really defensive towards it, and then certain things start to arise and she's not quite sure of her footing anymore, and it's this whole like pulling back the curtain moment, and Brandon Sanderson really knows what he's doing. That's all I'm gonna say. Without saying any spoilers, this book just blew my mind. I do just really want to point out too that Brandon Sanderson is a master storyteller. I've only read this one book so far, so it might be a bit quick to call it, but he does this thing where he gives you so much action and he's like, look over here, look what's happening right here, everything is going on, and while you're concentrating on this, he's like building up the other parts of the story slowly, and then he goes from over here and he goes, stop that, look at this, and he just crafts it in a way that makes you never think that there's a lull in the story, because he's purposely gone action, 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 revelation, action, revelation again. He does a really good job at distracting the reader before he's fully ready to reveal the mystery or give you a little bit more of a tidbit of something else. And I really appreciated how he did it. And I feel like a lot of writers can learn from him because he just has such a good formula and it just worked so well. And then there was that ending. Ooh. Can I really say anything without spoiling it, or do I just tell you to go read the book and then just be in a state of shock with me? I just need to read the second book ASAP. So those are my spoiler-free thoughts on Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I did end up rating this book 5 stars. It was incredible. If you didn't get from this whole book babble that this book is amazing and you should pick it up, just do it. Do it. This book had me thinking about it days after I finished it. It also very drastically impacted my motivation for the duration of reading it, because I didn't want to do anything else. I just wanted to read this and finish it. It was so atmospheric. It was just everything that I wanted without knowing that that's what I wanted. So that will be it for this book babble. Thank you so much for watching. I really like doing reviews like this where I can basically just blurt out to the camera all my thoughts and feelings and share them with you. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. I had a great time filming this, and I want to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know if you've read this book, if you haven't, if you want to pick it up, if you don't. So that's it for this video. Have a great day out there, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!